So it's like the market has switched overnight in terms of being, if we look at last year, it was more of a balanced buyer's market, especially in the detached home segment. And this year it's completely flipped. The last 3 months, if you look at the stats, we're seeing the number of sales outpace the number of new listings. And it's really putting a lot of pressure on the supply.
All right, so we are joined with Aaron DuPont, Alex Weston, Matt Antrim, and Rebecca Chamberlain.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are you guys all today?
Good morning.
Doing good, thank you.
Doing good.
Doing fantastic.
Fantastic. So we've got 2 questions that we are going to answer today, and we're going to talk about through your experiences, what you've seen this year. We can all agree that this year has been crazy. This year has been different. This year was unexpected. I mean, if someone knew about this year, then good on them. But it's been exhausting, fun. Every emotion you can think you've probably felt this year. And that has also happened with our clients, with our sellers, with our buyers. They've all felt the same thing too. So the first question that I have, and I'm going to hand it off to Alex first. What surprised you about the market this year? Perhaps you have a story of a client, something that tied to it to kind of explain what really surprised you this year.
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise for me is we've never been in a pandemic before, so none of us really knew what to expect. But the way it started was very slow. Like, I think everybody was, being very cautious, and rightfully so. So through March and April, I feel like things were quite locked down. And then when May came, it was a very big switch, and I kind of feel like the market just took off, and probably lots of reasons for that. Some of the things that I've had clients talk to me about has definitely been interest rates. With interest rates being as low as they are now, just seemed like a great time for them to make a move and take advantage of really cheap money. There's no such thing as free money, but we're pretty much as close to that as you can get right now.
Yeah.
So for me, and a lot of the clients that I've worked with this year, it's been kind of the timing was right to take advantage of an opportunity with low cost money and being able to sell in a hot market due to lack of inventory and buy something that came up for them. So one thing I've really noticed, it's been very competitive. Most of the places that we've looked at, if we're not competing, there's certainly lots of other interest around it. So I would say I've been surprised, mostly because I didn't know what to expect in a pandemic, and having such a busy and active market was something that caught me off guard, if I'm being honest.
Totally.
What about you, Aaron?
Thanks, Alex. So I definitely found it was a very similar spring and summer to what you described in terms of, the first 2 months, nobody knew what was going on. Nobody knew, if we stepped outside, what was going to happen. So things were slow, and then all of a sudden they took off. One thing that really surprised me was initially discussions that I was having with people related to real estate was the idea of, oh my God, everybody's going to do this mass sell-off and things are going to change. But what I came to realize is throughout the summer and the fall and now into the winter, people are capitalizing on this low interest rate and this cheap money that they can get. And the people that I'm working with are people who are taking advantage of this situation and realizing it's a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity to move up to where they need to be. And it isn't the idea necessarily that everybody's moving down like we thought might happen in the spring, but actually people are moving up and getting into the market who otherwise wouldn't be able to. A lot of first-time home buyers. I worked with one family who's building their dream home, which they realize, hey, if not now, then when? It's a good opportunity. So people who are taking advantage of that. Matt, what about you?
Yeah, kind of obviously the biggest surprise this year that we've been dealing with is COVID, and it's really changed the pace of the market. Nobody expected really the outcome that we've seen up to today, December. The last 3 months has been like a spring market. If you look at the numbers in terms of sales, and how quick this market's actually going, it kind of feels like a spring market in the middle of November and December. And I think it is a result of low interest rates, definitely. And people having more time on their hands to get out there, start house shopping. They're in lockdown and we're still an essential service. So what else better to do than get out and go look at property? And I think one of the things we're seeing right now is a lot of sellers are perhaps holding off from listing homes, and there's a ton of demand out there. So it's like the market has switched overnight in terms of being, if we look at last year, it was more of a balanced buyer's market, especially in the detached home segment. And this year it's completely flipped. The last 3 months, if you look at the stats, we're seeing the number of sales outpace the number of new listings, and it's really putting a lot of pressure on the supply. And as a result, the sellers that I'm meeting with right now, they're able to speculate a little bit higher in terms of prices, because that's the direction we're seeing prices go right now, especially in that detached market. That 550 and under, sellers are able to speculate a little bit higher on price just because the product is so low right now, and the amount of demand that's out there is really driving prices. And we're seeing, I think when I looked last, we've seen 6 consecutive months of price improvement over each of those months. So we're seeing those prices going up in the right direction. And you're seeing that along pretty much all the product segments, from townhomes, semi-detached, apartment. You're seeing really optimistic activity. So it's one of the most optimistic time periods I've seen in the last 6 months since maybe 2013, 2014. So it's exciting to be a part of, and being able to guide our clients now through this pandemic time has definitely been a challenge. And as agents, we've all had to learn to pivot and kind of switch to more of a virtual world, so to speak. I know when the pandemic kicked in, open houses were banned. We weren't allowed to show houses. So right away we had to switch to virtual open houses and virtual showings. So for realtors, it's been a challenge, just having to switch our normal way of real estate to kind of this new world, which has become virtual.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no, I would echo all of those thoughts. And just then there's the news as far as when the pandemic first happened, they were projecting that prices were going to fall by 25%. And every realtors were saying to clients, I don't see how this is possible. Prices have already come down really since the oil has been in less demand, and anyone in oil and gas is kind of looking at real estate and being like, how are you so busy? Who has jobs? So, I mean, there still is that economic, what is happening, and another shutdown. So that is kind of heavy in people's minds. But I think the fact that we're all supposed to stay at home makes us realize what rooms and what parts of the house that we love or that we hate. So that's that is a huge part of a house is more, it has so much emotional feelings to it, and a space. And I think we're all going a little stir crazy, or I am at least.
Yeah, we are a little bit. Yeah. What have you, Rebecca, what have you seen specifically this year with perhaps some clients or trends that you've seen emerge?
I think high stress for people. I think there's a lot of emotion because it feels very strange moving in a pandemic when there's a lot of mixed messages with that. And then, a lot of stop and go experiences where, a house goes on the market, you have very little activity, and then all of a sudden something adjusts a little bit. I think once kids started going back to school, there was a huge sigh of relief and people started moving again. And again, people upsizing and then going to acreages or looking at land, just changes, like Aaron echoed, just decisions that people were kind of asking themselves, what am I waiting for?
Yeah, that's very true. So what is it that you guys are seeing that could potentially turn into a trend for next year? Because if you look at the landscape of where we're at right now, we have got crazy low interest rates. We have a real lack of inventory pretty much across all prices, not just in specific areas. The only area that we're seeing it not being as tight is really condos. I mean, there's still low inventory, but the demand is also pretty low for the most part, inner city condos kind of thing. But what would you say are the things that you could foresee, whether that's timing of the market? Are we going to see a typical spring market? Could we see prices go up? What do you guys kind of expect when you're looking at this? And why don't we jump to Aaron first?
Well, I think past Christmas, and once I think the COVID numbers stabilize in the new year in January, February, I think once people are confident that things open up again to a larger degree in Calgary, I think there will be a lot more movement. A lot of people who have been kind of on the sidelines will be taking advantage of these low interest rates and looking to make a move. So I think it's going to be a really busy 2021 market for real estate in Calgary.
Yeah.
Alex.
And Matt or Alex, yeah.
Oh, Matt can go. Go ahead, Matt.
I can go. Yeah, I think for the first half of 2021, we're going to see a lot of what we've seen in the last 3-4 months. I think we're going to see low inventory, high demand. I think we're going to see prices creep up as we're seeing on a month-to-month basis right now. And there's going to be some really great opportunities out there to take advantage of perhaps the luxury market. I think we're still going to see prices perhaps pull back a little bit at that $1 million and over market. And we're going to still see buyers who are in a position to take advantage of that market jump on board. And I can see that happening for next year. So I know I was reading the other day, just on Facebook, we had that house recently sell. I think it was 5.2 million that it went for, and it was originally listed at 20 million. So the opportunity is out there right now in the luxury market for that type of clientele to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
It's very true. Yeah, Rebecca.
Yeah, I think more of the same. I think we could see people if with a vaccine and the advantage, maybe more people. I saw a lot of in-migration this year of people. Exxon brought a lot of their expats back. As far as, so we saw a lot of people come back. I don't know if we're going to see movement out, people moving to the States, maybe people moving across Canada. That has still been happening, but I don't think you're seeing as many people move out back to the States. That's kind of been, it felt like a lot of people came back this year. So that would be interesting. Building prices are on the up, just with increased lumber and then siding and then a lack of supplies. So there's probably more price pressure on new builds. And then just a general antsiness of people wanting to change, and all of us wanting to be in Mexico in February and trying to create a warm house or something. I don't know.
and having the Zoom Mexico background for us is not doing it anymore.
No, it's right? Not. No. Alex.
Yeah, I really think just with what Matt, Aaron, and Rebecca have already said, I echo that. I think that is definitely true. As long as interest rates stay low, I think we're going to see a continued busyness. One of the things that I think we also will see is a lot of people now taking advantage of the opportunity to say, I've always wanted to live on an acreage, so I'm going to move out of town because my company's realized we don't need to be in an office space any longer. So I think that's something that we'll see on the rise as well. I know we've felt it a little bit through the last few months, but I anticipate that will continue to grow that market. But I do find it hard to predict what the world is going to do in these kind of situations, because we haven't really seen anything in our age like this. So we just, you look at the indicators, and the indicators are all setting us up to be a really busy 2021. So as long as that continues to happen, then I think Calgary's real estate market is going to see continued activity and probably even more. And I do find it interesting, Rebecca, what you had mentioned about expats coming back, and we're also seeing a lot of companies now relocating to Calgary, which is crazy because we have all this cheap office space here to use. I know Suncor is moving everyone out here from the east, so I think that trend is something to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah,
and that that surely would only speak to, again, a good outlook for the Calgary real estate market.
So last question. So if someone was in the position where they were considering making a change, so most people in this market, there's a lot of first-time buyers, but there's also a lot of people who have a property and are looking to buy something and potentially make that change. So kind of anyone can go, but what would you say is some good solid advice for someone who's in that market, who is considering, I need to make a change, I need to make a move, I need to move up, move down, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. It's more, I have something that I own and I want to sell it and I need to buy something else. What can someone do in this market that is going to be beneficial for them? And how do they set themselves up to win? Who wants to take it?
I can take it.
Okay, go ahead.
If you want me to. I think for most clients that I'm meeting right now that are in that situation is just having a solid plan. So knowing every perspective of the market, you know, what type of market am I selling into? What type of market am I buying into? And then making a plan, whether do I buy before I sell or do I sell before I buy? And in the last few months, I would say when compared to the last few years, I've seen more and more people make the decision to buy their next home before they actually sell, which, you know, only a few years ago, that could have been a risky play because there was no guarantee on how quickly your home would sell or if it would even sell. But when we're seeing the numbers that we're seeing right now, where, you know, in some neighborhoods, 100% of listings are selling in less than 2 months, there's a lot less risk for people who are transitioning to buy their next house before they actually sell. And it's kind of now that's kind of been the new strategy, because selling has now become the easy part. Buying's become the hard part, because being able to find your next home has been quite challenging. And if you don't make a move quickly, it could sell. You know, last night I was looking at a listing in Evanston, one day on market, and already had 4 offers on it. So that's the type of market I'm seeing right now in the suburbs.
It's different. It's a different market. Does anyone else want to add anything to that before we wrap up?
Yeah,
I think go ahead.
Rebecca.
Oh, I think
Ladies
just,
first.
and buyers, thank you. And just buyers being prepared. I think there's a lot of thoughts that there's going to be some foreclosures in this market, and that's a slow moving train. And it is cheaper at this point to pay a mortgage than it is to rent. So that's interesting. And then for some sellers who've, you know, it's not been where the market's wanted it to be, to make that move, it's worth reaching out to kind of see what your community is doing. Does it make sense? Maybe you're tired of being a landlord. There's lots of conversations to be had and to make that plan.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alex.
Anything to add, Dal?
Yeah, I just getting back to making sure you have a plan. I think it is really important to understand what you're selling. Because while the numbers are very flattering in a lot of areas, I am seeing a ton of vacant properties right now with people that are moving out or doing this type of, you know, buy their home first or whatever their scenario might be, leaving their home vacant. And some of them still aren't moving maybe as quickly as they should be. So it's important to still understand the price point that you're working within, especially on the sell side. And just knowing, you know, is this actually the good position to put myself in based on what is selling in this particular market? There are still markets that are quite saturated, I guess. Like the infill market is still very saturated with product. And so in some communities. And so that might not be the best platform for you to, you know, buy and then sell after, if that's something that you're selling out of. So it's just really understanding what position you're in on both sides, just like Matt had mentioned, and putting a strategic plan together, and also talking to your mortgage broker about your options. If you don't need to sell, then that takes some of the pressure off making that transition. You can choose to sell after you buy something if you'd like, or, you know, you have a lot more options that way when you know where you stand. So
no, this has been good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. You guys are a wealth of knowledge. So thank you again for watching. If you have watched this, I'll put some comments throughout below in the comments here that, oh, see, you're at Mexico again. I'll put some comments down below with some links to some other videos that we've shot that have some great information about helping you understand your market, where you're at, months of inventory, absorption rate, these things that the guys and gals have been talking about this morning, just to help you educate yourself, because you want to walk into this market with knowledge and power. That's how you're going to come out the other side winning and eventually joining Alex on the beach.
Lots of room here. There's lots of room.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today, everybody. So I want to thank you. Enjoy your day, everybody. And we are signing off. We'll talk to you guys later.
See you.
Thanks, everyone.